Hello, hello, viewers. Hello, hello, my dear friends and my well wishers. And you can remember that last night I discussed with you or I shared with you. Hello, Dadu. Thank you very much. I am being addressed as Dadu. I have no grandson or granddaughter, and that is why the this name Dadu is very much lovable and like it. However, Dadu, you have joined or you have participated in my class, and I am very much pleased to have you. And let us discuss adverb clause of place. Last night, you can remember that I discussed adverb clause of time. And today's topic of discussion is adverb clause of place. And my viewers, my patrons, and my friends who are interested in learning adverb clause just to use in complex sentence, please join, please participate, and listen to my live streaming. I am live streaming just to share my ideas about the adverb clause of place. And you know that an adverb clause suggests place too. For example, I am giving you some examples and then I will come to conclusion, because it is in the deductive method. First, I must give you some examples. For example, where the mind is without fear, we can work with freedom. We can work with freedom. Where the mind is without fear, we can work with freedom. You see that where suggests place, but not a particular place. You cannot have an idea of a particular corner of a place, but it is a place. Remember. Okay? That is why I like to say that an adverb clause of place generally begins with where. For example, where the mind is without fear, we can act with freedom. Now let us analyze the sentence. How have we constructed the sentence? For example, we can act with freedom is a principal clause. Where the mind is without fear, subordinate adverb clause of place. And modifying the verb can act. Can act. Clear? Now let us give an example with where again. But I shall not give you the abrupt or some random examples or examples at random because we will not be understand. For example, I have selected some examples. For example, where science ends, philosophy begins. Where science ends, कुछ manage. Okay. I state class 5 or class 6. Okay. Thank you very much. You see that where science ends, philosophy begins. So, what is the beginning point of philosophy? That is the ending point of science. Let us analyze the sentence. Philosophy begins is a principal clause. Where science ends, subordinate adverb clause of place, and modifying the verb, just modifying the verb, begins. Philosophy begins, that is begins. Clear? So, although there is where, you cannot say that it is adverb clause of time. When there is where, there is not always adverb clause of time. I am giving you an example. I went to Kolkata where I met my old friend. Clear? I went to Kolkata where I met my old friend. But this is not an adverb clause. This is not an adverb clause because this is an adjective clause or a relative clause. Because here where suggests clearly or obviously an antecedent, that is Kolkata. Now let us analyze the sentence. I went to Kolkata, principal clause. I went to Kolkata, principal clause, where I met my old friend, subordinate adjective clause or relative clause, and qualifying the noun Kolkata. Because Kolkata is an antecedent, it is a noun. So an adverb clause does not modify a noun. It always modifies either a verb or an adjective or another adverb. So, when there is an antecedent, you cannot say it an adverb clause. It is an example of a relative clause or adjective clause. My dear viewers, my dear patrons and well-wishers, those who have joined my class, please like, comment and subscribe my channel An Easy Step to English Grammar. And if you subscribe, I shall be highly impressed, I shall be highly inspired to make more grammatical lessons and share with you. That is why this old teacher has the right to request to subscribe my channel An Easy Step to English Grammar. Let us come to the point. Another example, the subordinate clause begins with where, but it is not an adverb clause. As for example, I was I was walking through the forest. I was walking through the forest where I was fortunate enough to see a tiger. Clear? So I was walking through the forest, principal clause, where I was fortunate enough to see a tiger. Subordinate adjective clause or relative clause and modifying the verb, and qualifying the noun forest. So when there is an antecedent before an adjective before where you are sure, you are obvious, or you are certain that it is an example of adjective clause, it is an example of relative clause. Clear? But in the case of no antecedent, it is adverbial clause. Clear? For example, another example, I went to England where I studied medicine. I went to England where I studied medicine. And I went to England, principal clause, where I studied medicine, subordinate adjective clause or relative clause, and the antecedent is England. So when there is an antecedent before where, it is not an adverb clause. It is actually an adjective clause or relative clause. I have already given you an example where the mind is without fear, we can act with freedom. So where suggests place, but not specific place, not certain place, we can act with freedom. Subordinate, we can act with freedom, principal clause, where the mind is without fear. Subordinate adverb clause of place. Clear? Whatever may be the fact. So where does not mean that it is always adverb clause. In the case of adverb clause, there is no antecedent, and in the case of relative clause or adjective clause, there is always an antecedent. And you may automatically make a question, sir, what is an antecedent? You see that an antecedent is either a noun or a pronoun or a noun phrase which is qualified by the relative pronoun. For example, the boy with a luggage. The boy with a luggage in his hand is my brother. The boy with a luggage in his hand is my brother. That means the boy who is with a luggage is my brother. So if you analyze the sentence, it will stand thus: the boy is my brother, principal clause, who is with a luggage in his hand, subordinate adjective clause or with relative clause. And the boy is antecedent. Clear? Okay. But my topic is adverb clause of time. Adverb clause of place. Now, my discussion goes to another example. I have shown you where. Now I am showing you wherever. WHEREVER, wherever. For example, wherever I went, I was cordially welcomed by the people of that place. Wherever I went, I was cordially welcomed by the people of that place. Clear? You see that I was welcomed by the people of that place is principal clause. Wherever I went, subordinate adverb clause of place, and modifying the verb, was cordially welcomed. Was cordially welcomed. Clear? Wherever. Clear? Another example. Wherever the travelers went, they faced with an accident. They faced with an accident. Clear? Wherever the travelers went, they faced with an accident. Let us analyze the sentence. They faced with an accident. It is principal clause. Wherever the travelers went, subordinate noun clause, subordinate adverb clause, and subordinate adverb clause of place. Clear? Adverb clause of place, and modifying the verb. It modifies the verb went. Clear? Another example I am giving. Wherever we went or wherever we traveled, we were cordially welcomed, or we were given a warm welcome. A warm welcome. So let us understand. We were given a warm welcome, principal clause. Wherever we went, it is subordinate adverb clause, and modifying the verb. Modifying the verb, were given. Clear? So where and wherever both suggest adverb clause of place. But you will have to see that when there is an antecedent, that is either a noun or a pronoun or a noun phrase, before where, it is not an adverb clause. It is actually adjective clause or relative clause. So I have given you two things, where and wherever. Clear? And if you take your exercise book and pen, you may jot down, you may practice at home. Clear? I am giving you the lesson, I am sharing my ideas with you or experiences with you from my experience of teaching in the classroom. And from this experience, I am sharing my ideas. However, thanking all of you, another example I am giving. Whence. WHENCE. Remember, my dear viewers, that whence means from where. From where. If I say return, whence you came, that means you return whence you came. So you return principal clause, whence you came subordinate adverb clause of place, and modifying the verb return. Clear? So whence means from where. Another example I am giving. Go back. Go back whence you came here to attend the meeting. Let us analyze the sentence. For example, the principal clause is go back. That means you go back. From whence you came to attend the meeting, it is subordinate adverb clause of place, and modifying the verb is go back. So let us come to the conclusion that an adverb clause of place suggests place, but the specific place is not mentioned. Particular place is not mentioned anywhere. This is adverb clause of place. And when the particular place is mentioned, you are sure that it is a relative clause or an adjective clause. Clear? However, let me end here. Stay safe, stay mellow. And those who have not yet subscribed my channel, An Easy Step to English Grammar, please subscribe so that I may be impressed, I may be encouraged, enthused and inspired to appear before you with more grammatical items. Thanking all of you. Good night.